Hello everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here, 5:30 right off the bat. Let's get this thing started here, shall we? We're going to start off by just talking about a few indexes here. I haven't really opened up the floor for chart requests, but if you guys want to throw out some chart requests, if it flows well, please feel free to do so. I'm going to do my best. So I'm going to basically start talking about the indexes, talk about macro, and again dive a little bit deeper into some of the individual stocks, as well as diving into Bitcoin, altcoins, miners, a lot of things here. So bear with me. I haven't been on live for weeks now. I think it's like I've been off live for like 3 weeks. So thank you for being patient. I'm back. We're here. We're going to get started. Before I do, I just want to kind of do a few business C's thing here. I do have an X account. I do have a subscription. There's also $5 a month if you want to do that and maybe interact with me a little bit more there. Feel free to do so. I do have a few collaborators that I often refer to. One is Danny Chang. His handle is Danny Chang 2022. One of my favorite people. He's got a page around here too. Want to check it out? Another one of my collaborator, if you will, is great Matt Spee. Matt Hughes 13, very uncreative. It's just exactly just like him. He's very uncreative. But yeah, great collaborator, great charts. I learned a lot from him over the last year or so. And then finally, the Tesla Tracker, SB Zhang, ZUNG. He is also one of the collaborators that I have. We, Matt and I and Tracker, we do a Tuesday evening show. We have a separate channel called the Triumvirate Channel, which if you want to check that out, feel free to do that. We usually do live stream, although I think this week we're probably going to be off because it's the holidays. DK, welcome back. Yes, I am back. We are live. Welcome. Yes. Sure. So I do want to dive right into it. There's no point of delaying this any further. I want to thank you all for being subscribers and members to my channel. And I've been interacting with you guys through messages and comments. So thank you. First of all, just right off the bat, this is the S&P 500 Index Fund SPY. It's just really been following market symmetry. I think something that's really bullish has happened here that not a whole lot of people are talking about. They might be talking about how toppy, whatever that, if that's even a word, how toppy the S&P 500 is. But if you look at it, all of this is that it really has been following market symmetry very, very well, right? Each arc served as a little bit of either resistance here or support, right? Resistance here and support, and resistance here and support, right? And then now we push through this arc. Now, in addition to pushing through this arc, and we did get rejected here slightly in October, we're able to push through that. Now, in addition to push through that, we also push through the 1.618 FIB level over here. I think this is in log scale. We pushed through that and we back tested it so far in December. This is not bearish. This is bullish, right? And so far, this is still a little bit of an inside candle, if you will, compared to November's very green candle. So far, so good. There's really nothing that is, warning sign for anything bad that's going to happen. So if anybody's calling for a market crash, I think they're all just guessing because there's not really any indicators to say that's the case. We're not overextending here on Bollinger Band. On the RSI, there's not really any clear bearish divergences here that I can see. On the monthly and on the weekly, you do have some bearish divergences, which is probably going to need some time to kind of work out. But on the monthly here, it can keep going higher. And then on top of that, there's one thing that's very, very important. I don't know why I have this as dashed line here. One thing that is very, very important that has happened here on S&P 500, and I'm actually going to make a post about this. I'm actually going to make a post about this. One thing is that you are having a RSI trendline breakout. And so far, what have we done so far in December? We basically just came back and back tested it, right? More or less, right? So this is pretty bullish. Yeah. So I don't have any really big concerns about the S&P 500. The QQQ may look a little bit more worrisome. The reason why is just the morphology of the candle, but same thing, right? Arc to arc to arc to arc. Rejection here, came back to the angle, back test. The arc over here pushed through. And in August, when you had the really scary yen carry trade thing, back tested the ARK, bounced from it, pushed through the 1.414 after being rejected here for 4 months straight, and it should gravitate to the 1.618, right? We're having a little bit of a hard time getting there. We do have a little bit of an invert hammer here, which is not a bad thing. We're not overextended by any means, just simply got rejected here about upper bullish band here on the monthly. But yeah, I mean, usually these invert hammers, like, oh, is this the top? Is this the top, like that one over there? It could be. It doesn't have to be, though. There are plenty of these like invert hammers that aren't really necessarily top. You know, you have another invert hammer over here. That doesn't necessarily mean it's top. You have another invert hammer here. That doesn't necessarily mean it's top, right? So I'm not going to really, I'm going to take that, worry with a grain of salt here. I think there's still plenty of room potentially to go up to like the 1.618 level over here, which is going to be the next level that I think would gravitate to. But on the greater scheme of things, it broke through an arc here, and it broke through the horizontal line over here. So next level is probably going to gravitate up here to like double up to maybe like 1,000 over the next 2 to 3 years or so. Now, IWM, everybody's paying attention to IWM. Should we be worried about IWM? Well, I was looking for the GAN here. Initially I just have like a really higher time frame GAN. I'm looking at a little bit of lower time frame GAN here. This is a weekly chart here, 720 and 0.5 is what my setting is. If you look over here, it's over the last year, since October 2023, it's just really been forming nothing but higher highs and higher lows, and it's just getting to the point where we got rejected here at the previous all-time high level, and we had to come back and back test something. Initially I was kind of thinking, could it be back testing some FIB level down below? Could be getting rejected here at 1, maybe back test 0.786. It went past that. I mean, it did look like it wanted to back test this level here, doesn't it? It went a little bit past it and got to the ARK, right? And when it got to the ARK, it bounced. So far, the bounce here is on pretty high volume. If anything, there's a little bit of like a capitulation volume. I guess people are scared, or if they have stop loss right at the 0.786 and just got taken out. But yeah, I mean, like I'm not bearish. How can you be bearish on this, right? Higher highs, higher low, higher high, higher low. Like there's really nothing to be really bearish about here. So I don't know why people are really all that scared. I guess they don't like, if they're just like a short term, they don't like the fact that all the November gains have just been erased in December, and they get really, really painful, with that. But all it really is doing is just basically following gravity. This is, IWM is eating salad right now. IWM is very, very methodological, if you will. Hey, Jules, welcome. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just basically following what it needs to follow. Usually in a bull trend, it's just used as the blue line, which is the tank, and then just kind of push price up higher. You can see how it did that over here. Blue line is kind of a support and push price up higher. This is a little bit unhealthy. It didn't really touch the blue line here for quite some time. But here, this bull market, it kind of touches the blue line, just kind of push price up, right? And what we do, I mean, we basically just got way overextended away from the blue line here in November, and we back tested it essentially almost perfectly, right? The blue line was 218.16. I think this candle back test to 218.07. So we're off by about like 9 cents. Pretty good back test. Actually, this is a pretty bullish look still. I know, like, I keep saying bullish, 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 because it's a bull trend and because it looks bullish to me. All of this just looks like a big giant cup over here ready to get broken out here from this previous all-time high. And until it really gets broken about, a lot of the more speculative stuff are probably not, you're probably not going to see those crazy like 20-30% gains, and including miners, until the IWM really truly breaks about this all-time high. And I think this is also one of the reasons why Bitcoin may be actually kind of struggling here a little bit. Ethereum is kind of struggling here a little bit. Based on previous cycle, it did the same thing until you had this big giant God November candle that pushed the all-time high. Like the other stuff didn't really start running. So right now we're still a little bit delayed. They didn't really want to push through the previous all-time high yet. They want to come back test the tank in here. Then so be it. Like so be it. It is what it is, right? But it still looks like a bull trend because it was a little bit outside upper bullish band, came back down, back to the tank, and right now the 20-month average is still going up. The bullish band is, upper bullish band is still expanding. So there's really nothing really that bearish on like the higher time frame. here, even ARK is looking pretty bullish. It's just waiting for a bullish band to kind of expand here. And it is also really, let me see the weekly here. Let me see the scan here. I think I did that on a monthly. Yeah, I did it on a monthly. So if you look at the ARK fund here, even it is looking relatively bullish because it pushed through the 0.382 FIB level, which means they're probably going to get grabbing up to the ARK up here, which means it's probably going to grabbing up to at least to the 0.5 FIB level, which is going to be where the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud here is. It's probably going to get there. It's probably going to get pushed through that eventually, and it's going to get to the ARK up here. And it's going to hit some resistance up around the ARK over here because that's also where their 0.618 is located at. But there's nothing really bearish. There's nothing bullish about the chart. It's nothing bearish about the chart really since the December 2022 can over here. It just looks like it's been respecting the angle over here, bounced over here almost perfectly at the ARK and the angle, and then just push through the 0.382 here. It looks like it wants to keep going higher over time, right? And that's also part of the reason why like Tesla is also doing pretty darn well right now. A lot of people, wondering about the semiconductor space. Why is the semiconductor space not doing very well? It's because it's kind of stuck inside ARK over here, right? It's been stuck inside here for about 7 months. You have this ARK here as resistance, this ARK here as support, push through as support, right? Push through here as support. And then you got to this ARK up here, and what did it do? Well, initially it got rejected in like March, pushes through. Now it just gets stuck here inside of ARK for about 7 months in a row. It also got rejected here at 2.618 level, which is not unexpected because it pushed through the 1.618 like it's butter, right? So it's going to get to the 2.618 here. And usually either 1.618 or 618 usually is pretty strong resistance. And right now 2.618 is serving as pretty strong resistance. Do I think it's going to push through? The answer is yes, I think it's going to push through. Because if you look at the volume, the sideways consolidation here is completely meaningless because there's no volume, right? And if you're just consolidating sideways over here, the next logical move is going to have the continuation of this primary trend, which is the uptrend, right? Are we overextended? No, we were overextended. We have candles number 1, 2, 3, like all these candles over here were just way outside the upper Bollinger Band. So I think we're probably going to end up having some bullish continuation after this consolidation. It just hasn't really happened, but I think it's going to happen soon because I'm going to show you a video later. I think it's going to happen soon. A couple other things too. If some people ask me about XBI, I remember I get a lot of requests about the biotech sector. What's the biotech sector doing? Well, it's basically hitting resistance here at the Ichimoku cloud. It has a hard time pushing through. It's the same things happening in CleanSpark and Mara, by the way. But you had a bullish cross here back in March, and price just trying to push through a resistance level here. You can see like $100 is a very strong resistance level, got rejected there, and then now you're getting rejected by the cloud, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to push through because a lot of energy is being built up here. You're forming a very, very strong base over here, and this sideways action is on declining volume. I think it's going to push through. It just takes time. It's also backtests a rising 20-month moving average, so I think the biotech sector is going to do pretty darn well moving forward. Yeah, I'm not scared. Now, industrial has been going up like crazy, which is why the S&P 500 is going crazy. So I think industrial still have some ways to go. Financials, you can't really have a good S&P 500 if the financials don't do well. They've been doing extremely well since November 2023. It just looks like it just wants to keep going up higher. So far, we've got a little bit of inside candle here. No big deal. Probably going to have some bullish continuation here. Now, let's talk about yields. Everybody's like really scared about yields, to think that yields going to go back higher because the Fed is saying, oh, the economy is doing well, blah, 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 blah. This is how Jerome Powell talks to me. Blah, 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 blah. I don't care. Yields peaked in October 2023. The Fed funds rate didn't really go down until later. The market, the Fed funds rate is a lagging indicator. It didn't really start going down until really September 2024, right? But if you're talking about the 2-year yield and 10-year yield, they peaked at around October 2023. They peaked like a year before, right? They peaked like a year before. So what are we talking about here? Hey, Matt. So what are we talking about here? So what we're talking about here is that the yields are starting to look really weak, and they keep on having these dead Cantonese bounds. The 2-year is looking weaker than 10-year, and you actually want to see that because of the yield curve, getting uninverted. You don't want it to invert again, I guess, if any of those things matter. But you don't need any indicators here, right? Just look at it, just eyeball it. You can see that it's broken below this level over here, and it's trying to backtest that level over here. And this price action looks extremely weak for the 2-year yield, right? Now I'm going to pull up some indicator here. Look at the Bollinger Band here. Now, if you look at Bollinger Band, it gives you a 20-month moving average. It's already flipping it from support here now into resistance. We even having a hard time trying to get up there. If we get up there, that's fine. If rate gets back up to like 4.5% and scare the market even more, now I'm not sure whether or not it's going to do that. I'm going to show you why that is. If it ends up going to like 4.5%, great. It's going to be that's going to be like a better area to even buy more stocks and cryptos because yields back testing the 20-month moving average is flipping from positive sloping here to flat, probably to negative sloping here. Hey, Vivian, probably going to be negative sloping here for a second, right? So low gains, high. So what are we talking about here? I think we're at the juncture where, like, even over here, they even back test. They just kind of push all the way down, right? I guess if you're talking about back test, maybe that was it over there. But yeah, I mean, it just looks like some pretty extremely weak price action here for the 2-year yield. Ichimoku Cloud tells you the same thing. You have the bearish Tenkan-Kijun cross. You have the yield trying to break through the Tenkan-Kijun, not being able to do it last month. This month's been trying, but it's still kind of stuck underneath here as resistance, right? So it's probably going to come down here to the top of the Ichimoku Cloud, maybe 3.4 to 3.3%, depending on where it hits on the cloud here. That's what I think 2-year yield is going to do. 10 years a little bit stronger. I think 10 years trying to find some support here at the Tenkan. But the truth is, even if it keeps on, forming like a lower high here, it has a lower low here, has a lower high here. It looks like it's about to have a bearish cross. If you look at the 20-month moving average, you can see how the 20-month moving average has really been flipping maybe from support here to some weaker resistance. It's no longer that positive sloping anymore. It looks like it's kind of on its last breath. It could break through and could come down a lot further, but it's still doing its thing, I guess. But it's getting weaker because you can see how strong positive sloping here, and it's losing its momentum. So 10 years probably still going to be okay for a short period of time, but I think over time it's probably going to form another lower low. It's probably going to go lower. Now, with all of that said, and also with the M2 money supply, it's just been going up. I'm going to do a M2 money supply in the log scale because that really deserves log scale here. It's just been going up. The U.S. money supply has just been going up, not to its previous all-time high level, but it's just been parabolic, and it's been going up since, coincidentally, remember the yields topped in October 2023? Well, the U.S. M2 money supply also has bottomed here in October 2023. I'm a Kepa, I'm also a goat. Thank you, Nicholas. The bottom has already been in terms of quantitative tightening. No, why didn't they mention that quantitative tightening has ended? Why was there no big announcement? Why didn't the CNBC people saying, "Oh wow, okay, quantitative tightening is ended"? Nobody talked about this. When there was quantitative tightening, everybody talked about it. Everybody gets super scared. But when it's over, nobody talks about it. Like, why? Why is that? It doesn't make any sense, right? You should celebrate the good things. You can talk about the bad things, but you should celebrate the good things. Nobody ever talks about it. Anyway, more macro here. China M2 money supply has just been up and up and up, right? I think if you worry about inflation, just look at the oil chart here. I do think that we got a descending triangle here. And usually with these kind of descending triangle pattern, it tends to break down because it's just one dead Cantonese bounce after another dead Cantonese bounce. It just looks like it wants to roll over down to the floor, right? This is what it looks like. This is exactly what happened to Bitcoin here. I know if you follow me for a long time, you probably already knew a lot of things I was kind of talking about here. Let me see one that doesn't have all that junk that I put in here. This one doesn't go back that far. All right, I'm just going to go to Bitcoin. I'm just going to go to here, turn off all this stuff here, and this is exactly the area that I was looking at, which is the 2018 year. It's a dead Cantonese bounce after another one. And then as it gets to the floor, it just drops down to the floor, right? Like it's like a ball that's bouncing off the table, get to the inner table, and just drop down to the table. That's exactly what oil is looking like to me right now. That's exactly why I'm like not really that interested in buying any oil stocks, because it just looks like it wants to roll over. I could be wrong. It could just bounce from here. That would be actually not a bad thing. I'm just kind of surprised why it looks so weak whenever the China government is like pumping a bunch of money into their system and trying to pump their stock, and why is oil price too looks like it wants to kind of fall over. Yeah, everyone was talking about the VIX again, and I was like looking at the VIX. I was not really that interested because it got rejected here off the monthly Chimoku cloud that's very, very thick. Yeah, so I'm like done talking about the VIX. TLT can say the same thing. I think TLT, the reason why TLT is not doing very well, even though I think yields are going, are going to go back down pretty quickly here, is because TLT is a 20-year plus, right? So if you're talking about a 20-year yield, the 20-year yield actually looks pretty strong right now. Like it's just, it's rolling over, but it looks strong in 2 and a 10-year. So TLT might still have a little bit of a hard time to try and break above. I probably would not long TLT because I think that's going to be a pretty strong laggard here. It's still trying to get over the 20-month moving average, still getting rejected here. So the same thing, right? If you look at the US 20-year, it's finding support here at the 20-month moving average. So it's the same thing. It doesn't look like it's ready to break down yet. So you want to get into TLT, it's going to be a big laggard. That's all I'm going to say. Woo! Where are we at? Let's talk about gold, because I want to talk about macro gold here. I do have a GAN here on gold, and I think gold just got rejected here at the greetings from Spain. Thank you. I just want to say that it got rejected here at 1.618 here on gold, and it looks like you had already had the early bull cycle run here for gold, and gold could end up doing absolutely nothing for months and months and months. Kind of like over here in 2020, where it just shot up from like April of 2020 all the way to like August 2020. It did nothing for like 2 years. I wonder if it's going to end up doing that here. I don't know. Consolidate sideways over here on new 1.618. All right, enough about that. Let's talk about the big stocks here. The market moving stocks. You remember how I was talking about how SMX is like stuck inside the ARK here? And why I think it's going to break above? Well, because NVDA was stuck inside the ARK over here too, but NVIDIA broke above of that a couple months ago. NVIDIA actually just got rejected here at the 2.272 here. And yeah, I mean, everything looks like it's just kind of hovering around, building up energy, just like what Logan is saying. It looks like they're just kind of building energy, looking like they want to push through to the next levels here. But before they do that, they're just going to have to kind of work out their own technicals and whatnot. This area over here, we broke through the ARK, kind of like this area here, we broke through the ARK. I think we're going to end up huffing around here, but eventually we'll break about the 21272. It's probably going to go to either 2.618 or 3 around here, around 228 or $355. And there's probably going to be where there's going to be a lot of breathers that need to be taken. I just don't think it's going to keep pushing up to the ARK up here. A reason why I don't think that's going to be the case is because I think this bull trend is getting a little bit exhausted. Now, unless it proves me wrong, unless you have like the boom, boom, boom candles that is able to expand the Bollinger Band up again and to lower the low Bollinger Band down all the way down to the ground again, I think this trend is getting a little bit exhausted. What I mean by that is this trend over here getting a little bit exhausted, maybe go up another 2 or 3 times. This trend over here is getting a little bit exhausted, maybe going another 2 or 3x. This trend here is getting a little bit exhausted, maybe going another 2 or 3x to maybe like 350, right? So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about NVIDIA. You wonder, people are always wondering about my thoughts on Tesla. My thought on Tesla is very, very simple in the higher time frame. Or in high time frame, it looks extremely bullish. It looks like the Bollinger Band has expanded. It looks like it wants to keep going up higher. And this Bollinger Band expansion looks more bullish than it did over here. I think it looks more similar to that. I'm not saying that it's going to push all the way to like 40x. I'm just saying that it looks like a more stronger bull trend like over here, and over here is being developed. It looks like it wants to go up higher. Now, we are hitting some pretty important resistance level, which is the previous all-time high over here around 414. I'm going to turn off the Bollinger Band here. I'm going to basically turn on the Gann chart. But overall, if you think about it from a Gann perspective, it broke through this arc over here, got to the arc, got through the arc here, back test the arc, and then pushed through, right? Broke, initially got rejected here, the arc, back test the horizontal, pushed through the arc here, got to the next arc, got rejected here. It took about 3 years to push through, and we pushed through. Where's it going to go? Probably the next arc up here. If we don't have any kind of resistance up here at the horizontal, which we're probably going to end up having some resistance up here around 400, not 400, around 700. But yeah, it could go up to 1,000, somewhere up here, 4 digits. That's where it looks like it wants to gravitate up to. But it's not going to go up there in a straight line. You're going to have some pretty strong volatility. Like, can you imagine this price get up to like $63 and all of it came back all the way to, because of COVID, to like $24? Can you imagine how devastated those people are, right? Something like that could happen with Tesla here. It could get rejected, and the whales can play their games. They're going to want to deleverage you, and they want to push the stock a lot higher over time. But the trend is bullish. I'm not there's like no doubt that that's bullish right now. Now, if we're going to change that number, let's see, let me play around with here a little bit. I'm going to change that to 5. I'm going to change that to 5. If I change that to 5, you see that it also gives some really beautiful market symmetry. I changed from 10 to 5. And you can see how this arc also has resistance here as support, right? Bounced through the arc here, had a little bit of a trouble breaking through. Over here, broke through the arc, came back test the arc multiple times, and now it's going to get to this arc up here. So I think 700 is going to be a pretty strong resistance level, because that also was a horizontal line, and this is also an arc up here. It depends on if you change the setting, things like that. Both of these give me really good market symmetry, so I just think that 700 is going to be a pretty confluent resistance level. When it gets there, we'll see what happens. Maybe it does one of these things, and it gets pretty brutal, and then you have some very bullish continuation. I don't know, but all I know is that Tesla is right now is a bullish chart because it convincingly broke about the 0.76. It also convincingly broke about the 0.886 here, and it looks like it's trying to break about this all-time high, and that's going to be a little bit of resistance here. If it breaks through, great, much higher, right? We're going to have a little bit of harder time break through immediately too, because the Bollinger Band still needs to expand here on the monthly. Right now the upper Bollinger Band is 354, and the price got up to close to like 500, got to like 488, right? So you're just going to need time to allow the Bollinger Band to continue to expand before you're able to more reliably kind of push up here. As you can see, it really got rejected. Let me see here. It really got rejected here on the 1.236 here on a linear scale, almost like to the dollar here. So, yep, got rejected, coming back down to the level below, try and push through. We'll see what happens. OSS, I'll write that down for you. We're going to do some chart requests for sure, because I'm nice. I don't know. But yeah, we're going to do, hopefully I can find it. We'll do that a little bit later, Nicholas. Just want to go through Palantir first. But any questions about Tesla? No, let's move on. Palantir, what's going on? It just get to 80. It looks like it just want to keep going a lot higher. What the heck is going on with this stock? Well, it is very, very bullish. It is expanding the Bollinger Band to the upside and to the downside. It is overextended. It is overextended. But guess what? So far, it's got a Malabowski candle like it did over here. Last month, Malabowski candle tells you have some bullish continuation here. So far, we have Malabowski candle. We still have another week, right, of trading here, so we'll see how it turns out. We're way above the upper Bollinger Band on the monthly. I do get a little bit concerned about that. It would not surprise me. It ends up going boom town, go back to like 60, 61, or it just stays where it is at right now, and the next thing you know, it goes sideways here. The upper Bollinger Band is probably going to be up to like the 70s, and it might come back to the 70s before going up further, or it could be boom town. It could be like a big giant wick down below. I mean, who knows what they want to do. All it takes is just a little bit of news, and they can just use that excuse to do a little bit of technical correction, because we are a little bit overheated right now. But am I selling here? Nah. I mean, I don't know where to buy back. If I sell, I can buy back at 60s, I guess, but I'm going to pay a bunch of tax here, and I don't even know like where to buy back because there's no guarantee it has to come back all the way down to 60 to touch the upper Bollinger Band. So if you're looking at the weekly chart here on the Gann here and on the Fibonacci level, it looks like it's broken through one arc over here pretty convincingly. Got to the next arc, back test the arc, and right now you are back testing the horizontal level here that broke out twice, right? And you also finally broke about the 1.272 fit level here. So the next logical area is probably going to be pushing up here to the arc up here. You might have around $100, 104, somewhere around there is going to be resistance. So 104, 130, which is going to be around the arc here, and then 157 is going to be the risk level to the upside. If you end up selling here, it could just run up there. If you end up not selling and it decide to come back down and correct crap, then I think $69 is going to be, an important zone down here that it could break down to, or it can break down all the way down to the arc over here, which is going to be around 60, and 60 was also where the monthly Bollinger Band is. So that's the downside risk, and that's your upside risk. They're both important to think about. All right, talked about the big stocks. Let me just do a couple of requests, just kind of get them out of the way. You told your grandma to get you a Tesla, to get you Tesla stock instead of did she really get you a Tesla? That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Chart request. Somebody asked me about FUBO off the live stream, so I'm gonna do FUBO here real quick. What do I think about FUBO? I had a post back in I think like January of 2024, I think, and I basically have a few criteria of when the euphoric bull market starts, and one of which is like Tesla break about its all-time high. That's happened. Palantir breaks about 21. That happened a long time ago. SoFi breaks about 14. That happened. Coin breaks about its all-time high. Hasn't happened yet. And me get to like 20K followers on X, which has happened. And then somebody asked me if I should buy FUBO. That's another one of my criteria. That has already been hit because somebody asked me about that. The answer to FUBO is, do I like the chart? I suppose so. I mean, it's coming back down to the arc and coming back down to the angle here. But if I just don't look at the GAN, if I just look at all the other indicators that I usually look at, if you look at the 20-month moving average, it did kind of break down underneath of that. So it's not quite ready yet. But it did also get really close to the low Bollinger Band down here. And the 20-month moving average is still relatively pointing up. So what can I say? This looks very similar to SoFi, to be honest with you. You have basically a big cup over here, and you have a downtrend that has lasted for like months and months and months. The one thing that's going to give you a little bit of a clue here is maybe volume. The selling volume here is a little bit high, but you also have a big wick down below. So yeah, this is a tough chart. Like the question, it's not really a falling knife because it's just forming like a lower high and a higher low. So it's just been consoling sideways here. It's a little bit trendless, if you will. The Ichimoku on the weekly here is going to tell you that it's still bearish. It's still not quite ready, which goes along with the 20-month, that was the 20-week moving average, which goes on the 20-week moving average. It's not ready here yet on the weekly. It can still consolidate sideways here for a little longer. On the monthly, you can also see that the 20-month moving average has been flattening, which is good, right? It means that all it takes is just a little bit of volume to push through and maybe back test that as support to go higher, but you're still underneath resistance here, right? If you want to buy, I suppose it's okay to buy down here, but there's no confirmation yet. And this is not really a falling knife as far as I can tell, because you do have a little bit of an Adam and Eve look to it. So I think it's fine if you want to buy FUBO. I just, there's no confirmation. That's the only issue. I do like the fact that over here a couple months ago, when there's this, green candles over here was increasing volume, and this downtrend here was on declining volume. And over here sideways, relatively low volume actually. So I actually like the way this is progressing. I think that this is probably going to end up being like an Adam and Eve pattern, and it's probably going to do okay over time, right? On the monthly chart here, if you put the Ichimoku, you can see why it's not quite ready yet, because the Tenkan was very negative sloping, just get rejected on the top of the candle here, right? So it's not quite ready yet. You need to flip the Tenkan for resistance to support, and you also need to flip the 20-month moving average here into support before going up higher. But if you want to like gamble a little bit, not really gamble, I think this bottom is probably in, if I had to guess. I don't have confirmation, but I think probably is Adam and Eve. Pretty decent. 20-month moving average flat, pretty decent. You can consider getting onto it if you want to. All right, OSS, one-stop systems. The first thing I look at the chart is I want to see what is it doing? Is it sometimes when people ask me, it's like super parabolic. I'm like, okay, I can't use like the usual things. I have to use a certain certain set of things. Or sometimes when people show me a chart, it's like all the way like falling knife down. I have to use certain things, right? This is one of those that's kind of like right smack in the middle. So the best thing to do is look at monthly and see whether or not you see anything overall. I do see maybe a little bit more of like a channel on the way up here, right? Just not using any indicator. I see a little bit of a channel like that. I see that when you have a green candle over here, it's on increasing volume. Another green candle here on increasing volume. And over the last couple of months, you have increasing volume over here, right? So I do think that it is getting a little bit more bullish. Is TLN and XMR, are they altcoins? I think they're like the privacy coins, right? So sadly, no. I'm trying to convince. Yeah, hey, you know, I'm lucky to have one. All I did was get into a car accident on a car that I've had for like how long have I had that car? Like for 12 years. Not my fault. Somebody ran a stop sign, hit me, got a fender bender, and it totaled my car because it cost more money than to fix than to just give me a check. So I ended up using that check for a Tesla Model 3. Okay, got it. I'm gonna look into that. If I have time, I'm gonna do both. If not, I'm gonna do one. All right, OSS. Usually when I look at a chart like this, looks like a channel on the way up, right? So what do I do to try to find some of the levels here? I can look at the monthly first. Monthly trend is usually the strongest. The first thing I look at is the 20-month moving average. This tells you a little bit more information because if you want to know if there's a trend change, of course there is, right? You can see how it changed from just this great downward slope here into a channel over here over the last 20 months. And the 20-month moving average is telling you exactly that, right? 20-month average resistance here, flip it from negative sloping here to support, right? Negative sloping here to flat here. It's no longer serving as like, you know, resistance now because we broke through that, and it might come back test there a little bit. But overall, the long-term trend seems like it's changing. And you also have a little bit of a bullish expansion over here. As long as it's able to spend more months up here about the 20-month moving average, the stock's going to be doing pretty decent over time, right? That's one thing. The other thing is Ichimoku. You are getting over the Tenkan, but you did have a little bit of unfortunately, a little bit of bearish crossover here, but that's okay. You got over the Tenkan, and right now you're trying to get over the Kijun here, the red line over here around 3.07. If you're able to break through about that and spend more time up here, it's going to end up going back up here and challenge the monthly cloud. On the weekly chart, you can see that it's kind of close about the weekly cloud here this week. Do I think that it's just going to keep pushing up? Maybe. If it keep pushing up, probably going to backtest here. If it doesn't, it's probably going to backtest the bottom of the cloud over here around 2.8 or something like that. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. And also, if you're looking at a lower time frame, you can look at the Bollinger Band. It also looks like it's becoming more bullish here on the weekly time frame, right? Hugging the price action over here with a 20-week moving average, and the Bollinger Support Band is basically flipping it from resistance here to support. It looks like price wants to go higher from here on out. So promising. Now, if you're asking me about like potential targets and things like that, I can look a little bit more into that here. Usually how I would do it is very simple, looking at the Fibonacci level here from the top to the cycle bottom. And you see how it got perfectly rejected here at 0.382. Like these things that cannot be made up here, right? But if you do a log scale fib, you can see how currently price is right at the 0.382, right? No joke. You have resistance levels over here, right? So you might end up, I think if that's the case, then the thing on the weekly here, there's a very strong possibility it gets rejected. It's probably going to try to find support here at the bottom of the cloud or at the Tenkan up here before it's able to bounce up because you're right at resistance. With that said, you also don't have much of a wick over here, so you can just push through and backtest this level and go higher. We'll see. I don't know which way it's going to go. Those are the two possibilities here. But overall, this is a more bullish stock here, so I think it's okay to buy and hold, but not financial advice, of course. I'm going to talk about TLN, and then I think I'm going to talk about XMR later because I also have some altcoin requests that I'm going to have to get to later. TLN, this is one of those charts I'm just looking like, whoa, okay. So the question is, there are a few things. One is whether or not it's whether or not it's got any like bearish divergences. The answer is yes. This is the weekly chart here. You can see how price is going up, but RSI is going down, right? So you're talking about you have RSI kind of going down like this, the price keeps going up, right? So this is getting a little bit exhausted, if you will. On the monthly here, I don't think you even have like 20-month. You don't even have 20 months worth of candle to do any like monthly averages. But on the weekly here, it looks a little bit concerning. It looks like it's getting a little bit tired. So with that said, it could keep going higher on bearish divergence. It can just keep going higher on bearish divergence. And then on the other hand, it can also potentially break through this trend line-ish kind of thing and just keep going higher. It's possible. But if you ask me, I think the weekly trend looks like it's a little bit exhausted. Now, I don't really have a fit level that I can really do here because it's just, I don't have like a cycle top and cycle bottom kind of thing. So I'm going to try again here to see if I can find any market symmetry, which is going to take all right back down to here. And I want to see whether or not it's hitting resistance. So what I'm going to do is 180. And here I'm going to say 1, right? There could be some bullish continuation here because I think it's finding support and it's got some pretty decent market symmetry over here. Is that support? I can't say that it's not, right? Even though it's got some bearish divergence here. So there are two mixed signals here. This has gone up way too far, way too fast. And at some point it's going to correct hard, but is it going to correct now? I don't know, because it's finding some really strong support here at the junction of GAN angle as well as the arc over here. Very strong support. So do I think it's probably going to go up higher on bearish divergence? It looks like it might be the case, which is absolutely incredible. Like, look at how nice this arc over here is. Look at how nice this arc over here is, right? I mean, like it looks like, look how nice this arc over here is. It looks like it wants to keep going up higher. I probably wouldn't chase. I don't know anything about the fundamentals or something like this. But when I see bearish divergence, I start to get a little bit scared. So I might take some profit and just kind of let the rest go and see what happens. You also see that this also wants to go up higher because it's just breaking out about this horizontal zone over here and just back testing it. That's all it's really doing. So yeah, the only thing bad about it is bearish divergence, but price can go up a lot higher on bearish divergence. So it could be a hold, it could be a little bit of profit taking. I probably wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, if you bought down here and price is up here, I don't know. Those are my thoughts. Okay, so BP, BP, BlackBerry here. It's still a downtrend though. It's still a lower high. I'm still not, convinced that this is not a falling knife quite just yet. But let's look at a few things I usually look at. I look at a monthly. The few things I look at. One is to look at bullish band, right? Is it reclaiming the 20-month moving average from resistance support? Potentially, it could just be a wick, right? But potentially, the 20-month moving average is also becoming maybe a little bit more flat here. So maybe this is it. There's no guarantee. The month is still not over. It could get rejected here, and it's just end up getting rejected down and make another like lower, maybe a higher low, maybe a lower low. I don't know. But it looks like we're hitting some resistance here. So yeah, be a little bit careful. But maybe, right? Also like the fact that it bounced from one side of the Bollinger Band to another at the lower Bollinger Band. So that's also another positive sign here. All right, let's look at another thing that I'm trying to look at, which is volume. Do we really have like a shortage in volume? I would argue maybe. Looks like over the last year or so, that like everybody who wanted to sell BlackBerry probably already have sold, right? And you end up having a hammer candle here, and you have a little bit of uptrend on increasing volume. So volume is pretty promising, right? Let's look at another thing here, which is divergences, RSI. You look at the divergence. I usually have to look for any like bullish divergence. I'm not really seeing bullish divergence here. That's really telling me on the monthly that this is bottom. Let's look at the lower time frame here. You do have a little bit of bearish, not bearish, that bullish divergence that's been building up here on a 2-week chart ever since like December 2022 all the way down to like August. And RSI actually has gone up a little bit. So you're starting to have some bullish divergence here, tell you that the downtrend is slowing down, decelerating, and maybe this is the result of that. But you can see how there's also a bearish divergence now across like all of this different time frame, right? On the weekly, you can see this bearish divergence very, very clearly. So yeah, it's just going to push through. I don't know. I mean, it did break out of this kind of a little bit of like a trend line over here, right? It did break above. So this is going to just keep going higher. I don't know. It's hitting a little bit of resistance here. So So what I'm trying to say is, has BlackBerry bottom? If I had to put a percentage to it, I would say 70% I think is bottomed. 30% could still make a lower low. That's probably what I would say based on all the things I'm looking at. You see how the 0.382 is support here, flip into resistance. I'm going to pull up some other support levels here to see. You see how it's hitting a resistance level here at the wick, right? You see how it's hitting the 0.236. So you're getting into resistance soon on bearish diversions. And also on top of that, the Bollinger Band is expanding its way outside the upper Bollinger Band on the weekly. You're asking for a correction. I probably wouldn't chase. If you want to buy back, maybe $3 is a good zone potentially buy back. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it just can't push through, right? You do have increasing volume over here. Maybe it's just going to push through. I don't know. But it's hitting resistance. I'm just going to be a little bit more cautious about it on bearish diversions. Just something to kind of think about. If I bought down here, and which I wouldn't because it looked like falling that, but if I were bought down here, I would probably hold on to it and just kind of see what happens, just because how impulsive it is. But I just don't like to buy things when they're like at resistance, right? You also get into the weekly Ichimoku cloud over here. Even if it pushes through the 0.236, it could get rejected here on top of the cloud, which is going to be around like $4. So a little bit higher to go before some major resistance is being felt. But yeah, that's all I have for BlackBerry. Woo! Let me take a sip of some beverage here, and then I'm going to move on to Bitcoin, crypto, and miners. So give me just 1 second here. Okay. Had a tea break. Bitcoin. I'm going to look at different time frames here. I'm going to tick off the Ichimoku. I'm going to go to the daily chart here. I'm going to do a reset chart view to kind of show you what I'm looking at here when it comes to Bitcoin. Turning up the volumes to give you a little bit more clear picture here. This is a daily Gann chart that I've drawn from the pivot down here around January 2024. The numbers I use are 720 and 100. It gives you a pretty remarkable market symmetry because price has spent a whole year getting stuck between these two arcs. And we broke through the arc, and then the rest is history, right? Broke through this arc here like it's nothing, and then went to the next arc here where we're hitting some resistance zone over here. Right now, the arc is just toying with us. Yesterday, we had this big giant hammer candle, which is bullish. When you see something like that, you're like, yeah. Just like this tweezer bottom over here is generally bullish, right? So hammer candle, good thing, right? The only bad thing is, well, it's underneath the arc over here. It broke down underneath the arc. It got stuck underneath the arc. We try to break through back into the arc here today. Not able to do that. How long is it going to spend under the arc here? If we're under the arc, doesn't mean it's going to go down a lot further, right? To 89,500. Or are we having enough demand zone over here to say that this is a good range where price is going to go up? There's a lot of really bullish patterns here, by the way. Tweezer bottom, morning star. A lot of really bullish pattern here. Another like hammer bottom over here. But it doesn't necessarily mean that price is not overextended and need further correction, right? Because sometimes it just needs to kind of go down a little bit further to grab liquidity, like it did over here. Or sometimes it just decides to trick everybody, look completely exhausted, like it did over here, and it just make another leg up. I don't know which scenario is going to happen. It looks more like this scenario over here rather than this one. But I don't know. Nobody knows. Because of the big hammer that we had, I think it's probably going to end up being more similar to over here than it is over here. You notice over here, we don't really have those like, super bullish patterns, like we did over here, we have a few really, pretty bullish patterns over here. Trees at bottom, morning star, all that good stuff, right? So yeah, we'll see. I mean, that's basically it. We need to break through the arc here before being able to go up higher. And whenever I said that, hey, hitting arc up here, you're gonna spend like maybe a few weeks here, and I've got posts saying, nah, I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so far it's getting rejected here a little bit, but I'm optimistic it's going to break through. If not, then come back down here at 89,500. But if yes, then breaking through the arc, backtesting the arc a little bit, going higher. I need to redraw another Gann square. Looking at the weekly. This is a Gann that I drew on the weekly here, and you can see pretty clearly. I did this on 360 and 500, and it's giving you some pretty good market symmetry here. If I just go ahead and temporarily delete the fit levels here, you can see that it's been respecting these arc here like is this mom, right? Now you're trying to get to the arc here, you get rejected here at the top of the arc. So far we broke through underneath back under the arc here, but you see how many wicks there are down here, right? These are basically telling me that there's a lot of demand down here, kind of like how there's a lot of demand down here. There is a good chance that we might challenge the arc up here again, just getting stuck in the arc here a little bit, maybe for another couple of weeks before going higher. I think that's entirely possible. Now, if I superimpose the fit levels here, you can also see that it got rejected off a really, really important fit level, which is the 1.272, right? Got rejected off of that. Well, is trying to find support, is trying to find demand down here before pushing up higher, right? That's basically all it's trying to do. On the Ichimoku, yeah, the Tenkan Kitchen is still a little bit further away, but the Tsubeichi Tenkan here has been serving as support. You can see sometimes on the way up, all it gotta do is just kind of tap the Tsubeichi Tenkan before going up higher. And right now we're tapping it. So yeah, we could just kind of go sideways and go up, or if this is a little bit exhaustive look, we might end up needing to come back and back test some of the lower levels down here below. But honestly, this is still our higher high. If it comes back and performing a higher low, and we're at resistance level here, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to break down that much further. I just don't think that breaking down further is necessarily guaranteed because of how nice these daily candles are looking. But if it does, then I just gave you some levels to kind of pay attention to. On the monthly chart here, to just kind of give you a little bit more of a perspective in terms of what I'm thinking, I posted this chart here on X recently, and I think I was being crazy. I'll tell you about my rationale as to why I say what I say and why I'm drawing these 5 waves going all the way up to like 700,000 by the end of 2025. The reason why I say that is because pretty much every single cycle it gets rejected off an arc and it came back down and trying to support, and it pushed through that arc and it go usually either touch the next arc or get through the next arc, right? This cycle here did that, and then it just kind of hovered around the arc here for a long time. Back tested the bottom of the arc over here, and then went up, got really close to the next arc here above, came back down, tried to find support, pushed through the arc here. We went about 6-7 months sideways down through the arc, and right now we have taken off, right? So naturally it should get close to the arc up here above. If you believe in market symmetry, if you believe that this time is not different, then naturally it should gravitate up to somewhere up here, or at least close to this arc above, right? Now, there is such a thing as like a diminishing return, so it doesn't necessarily have to do that. If we end up, there's always a possibility that the cycle can end around like 175 to 200,000, which is right at the Gann line over here. There's always that possibility. The only thing that is against that, the only thing that I have against that is, I'm going to delete the Gann because I can always draw back later. The only thing I have against that is that pretty much with every single cycle, there are a few things that happen with Bitcoin. One thing is it usually gets to the point that is so bullish that it starts to push the lower Bollinger Band down to the ground, right? And that's usually the start of wave 3, which is the most impulsive wave. Wave 3, which is the most impulsive wave, is that it just goes so strongly up that it pulls the lower Bollinger Band also all the way down to the ground to the negatives, right? And you would get the RSI to like the 90s. That's generally what happens with pretty much every single Bitcoin cycle. So far, we have not really had that Bollinger Band expansion. So far, the RSI has not really been that overheated. So it would not surprise me a bit if we end up having a wave 3 with these really big giant green candles over the next half a year or so to expand the Bollinger Band to the upside and to the downside, and to really start wave 3. Wave 3 is generally the longest and the most powerful, and which is exactly what happened over here over the last 2 cycles. Wave 3 is generally the longest and the most powerful. And I want to say, after we took off from the ARK, I think that we might be beginning wave 3, and we might be getting close to the ARK here above because of that. And we are just kind of starting over here right now. And this little snack over here is just hugging the upper Bollinger Band here, right? So I'm just kind of thinking to myself, what if it does the same thing it did over the last couple of cycles, and just expand the Bollinger Band to up and downside, and it just gets up to some really crazy numbers, right? Or it could just end the cycle around 175 to 200,000. Some people even call a lot lower numbers. Some people call it 140. Some people call it 120. That would be the end of the cycle. Some people call the cycle top right now. But it just would be very, very different from previous cycles. The thing that people are calling is they think that this is wave 1 and this is wave 3 and this is wave 5. I think that we're going through wave 5 and that is going to go into maybe Q1, Q2 at most of like 2025. But we just accumulated Bitcoin here for way too long. Whales have accumulated Bitcoin for like a year and a half for it to just push from like the 30,000 range to the where it's currently at right now. It's just a little bit minuscule considering how long they've accumulated around the zone, and that we've just kind of starting to break about this previous all-time high. Not by a whole lot, to be honest with you. So I think that we're still at a little bit like early mid-cycle here, and I think that might be some boom, 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 boom candle that are coming over the next half a year or so. Or we could be going to a recession, everything goes to crap. I don't know. All I'm saying is I'm playing cycle, and that's kind of what I'm looking at, and this is kind of what I'm thinking right now. Because in general, there's also another thing too. In general, you would expect maybe Bitcoin would hit this trend line over here and get rejected, right? That hasn't really happened yet, right? That just hasn't really happened. The other thing too that people generally look at is the MVRVC score. Generally, it gets up to like maybe like a 5, like 4 or 5. That's when you're wondering about like the cycle top. And generally, when it gets down to like 0, that's usually a cycle bottom. And it's worked out pretty well over time. Like that's the bottom over there. That's the bottom over there. And the MVRVC score is like at 0. That's the bottom over here. So it's pretty good. It's just like it's not normal cycle behavior to call this a top. So I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to be basically making a statement here is that during a bull market, I think the bullishness can be a little bit shocking, if you will. So I'm just going to leave these elite waves here. I'm just going to let them be, and then we'll see what happens. Ethereum. We're going to talk about a few altcoins here. Ethereum, bullish. I have a position. If you are looking at Ethereum, basically it's trying to break about the 0.86. If it breaks about the 0.86, then it's going to make all-time highs. It's going to hit some of the higher levels up here, 10,000, 14,000, maybe even higher potentially. I think if Bitcoin really hits like something crazy like 600, 700,000, which I don't think it will, because that would shock me. But that's what bull markets are meant to do. And I can keep monitoring the trend, right? I don't have to call the top. If it ends up doing that, then Ethereum could end up going a lot higher, like 40,000 potentially. Because even though the scan here, I draw the scan here around 360 and 2,000. If I change, like you can see that it's got pretty decent market symmetry here. This arc here means something. This arc here means something, and it's just kind of touched the angle up here. Wants to go up here to the next arc, right around 20,000. But if I just simply change the ratio from 2,000 to 20,000, it still gives me some pretty decent market symmetry, right? How it basically just went from arc to arc, got rejected arc here, broke through the arc, went to the next arc here, and then broke through underneath the angle and trying to challenge this arc here. You see how we spent about 3 months trying to challenge the bottom of the arc here. And we were going back up, right? If we're able to break through the 0.86 and if we break through the arc up here, there's a good chance it might end up stalling here around 1.414, around 10,000, which is also a psychological level. If it breaks through that, then you're talking about you could potentially hit some pretty crazy target up here, right? Like 60, 70,000. I'm being insane here. I know, like this is not. I'm just being insane. I don't know what I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah. September 2025, $77,534.50. No, okay. I'm not expecting that to happen. Because that's a lot of energy that's being pushed up. I don't expect that to happen, but I think that the cycle top could potentially be somewhere around 14,000 to 20,000, somewhere around there. So that's kind of what I'm looking at Ethereum. And a lot of people call me crazy because they're looking at a chart right now. They're not looking at any indicators. They don't care about cycles. They just look at it like double top, boomtown, buy. I just don't see how you can be bearish on Ethereum. I don't know. Tons of wicks down here below. Basically, what Ethereum did, if you just delete again here, what Ethereum did is you got rejected at 0.886, come back down, back to 0.618, passed, went back up to the same level. It looks like it wants to push through. It just needs a little bit more time. And you also look at Ichimoku. It'll also break through the cloud, back test the cloud. Looks like it wants to push through higher. Back tested the tank in here as well, right, on the monthly. Almost perfectly, right? How can you be bearish on this chart? I don't know. I talked about Doge. I'm not going to talk about Doge as much. Somebody mentioned XMR. Actually, I haven't looked at XMR for a very, very long time. The privacy coins are a little bit tricky. All I have to say is that I don't know. Like here, it made a little bit of all-time high here with this wick. I don't know whether or not it's going to follow the rest of the cryptocurrency market. Although you are, let me see here. I think if I talk about BB already. I'm going to do timestamps SS. So go back and watch BB. I just talked about maybe like 10, 15, 20 minutes ago. What's GLCUM? That sounds like something vulgar. I don't know. Any reason for using only some fans in the GAN? Also, do you ever use the separate GAN fan indicator from top? I don't use the fan as much. I think from top to bottom, like these things are usually what the Great MASB does very well. So I generally don't like to use them because I'm not very well versed. The key thing about using all of that is you have to use the linear scale. I like to live on the log scale because I'm crazy. I'm a log cat. The Great MASB, if you want to follow him, he lives on both log and linear. And a lot of the GAN stuff, like GAN box, GAN fan, all that stuff, like you really need to do it linear. And you really have to have a really good eye to identify a 45-degree angle to be able to set all those things up. And I'm not very good at that yet. So I'm going to defer it to the Great MASB. Anyway, talking about the XMR here, it needs to break about the Ichimoku cloud here. The cycle top to cycle bottom, you can see that at the top of the Ichimoku cloud, like none of these things are coincidence, by the way. None of these things are coincidence because you can clearly see that the levels are being respected almost perfectly, right? You see how the 0.618 level is exactly at the top of the cloud, right? You see how XMR got rejected at the 0.5 over here, and it went all the way underneath the 0.382, right? You see how important the 0.382 level is because you had a hard time breaking above of it. But with that said, if you're simply looking at more of a weekly chart, that gives you a little bit of a different feeling. By the way, last week was a crazy candle. Like, what the heck is this? But anyway, if you look in a weekly chart, it gives you a little bit of a different perspective because you are able to break through the cloud, back test the cloud, and went up higher, got rejected 0.5, and you're trying to come back down and back test the Tenkan Nikkei as far as the 0.382, right? If you look at on the weekly time frame, it's forming higher high here after forming higher low, right? So I think that it will eventually gravitate up. I think the cycle will eventually minimally get to 0.618. If it breaks about 0.618, the key level is going to be 0.786, right? Break about $272.60, then you get to $361.42. Break about the $361 and $361.42, then you're talking about potentially challenging all-time highs. But before that, you're underneath resistance here. That's XMR. Shiba. Shiba is actually not looking terrible. I actually like the fact it's forming a higher high here, got rejected at 0.618, come back down, probably back tested 0.5 over here a little bit. I think it's trying to claim the Kijun here from from resistance over here back to support. It's just back testing what I need to back test. Shiba doesn't look bad. It's forming a little bit of a higher low over here compared to here. It got rejected where it's supposed to get rejected at. So yeah, we're building up more energy, trying to push through. If you put the Bull support band, you can see how the Bull support band is perfectly supporting this renewed bull market. And I think Shiba is going to do just fine, right? If you're looking at the higher time frame of the monthly Bollinger Band, very nicely above the 20-month moving average. It just simply couldn't get up too far. It couldn't break the 0.618 because the Bollinger Band still hasn't expanded yet. So I expected to get to 0.786. I expected to do a 2.5x from here, and we'll see how it reacts from here. If it breaks through, then you're talking about like maybe 10x from here, right? This cycle. That's what I'm looking at when it comes to Shiba. If it breaks through the 0.786, then potentially 1.414, maybe a little bit higher, but I think 1.414 may be a little bit of the cycle ender here. You can also consider maybe 1.272 to also be a little bit of a cycle ender over here, which is going to be maybe like 8x from here. How disappointing. It could go higher potentially, but there are some resistance level that it needs to break above before getting there. I am going to talk about PEPE. I don't know why I'm talking about PEPE, but because I got requested to talk about it, that's why. I'm going to turn off the GAN here. I'm going to turn off just to turn on the bull in Japan on the weekly. On the monthly, it's really not much for me to chart, so I'm going to chart on the weekly time frame. A weekly time frame, it looks like it's just consolidating sideways here for a very long time, broken above here, back testing this horizontal level over here. At the same time, it's allowing the bull market support band to build up some energy. And basically just touch the bull market support band during the entire thing. Now, if you're looking for some market symmetry, I don't really have like, a whole lot of fit levels or anything to look at. I suppose I can, but I can also just look at the GAN here that I drew. This GAN I drew with 180 and 0.0001, whatever. You can see it does give you some market symmetry. It's kind of stuck through at this arc over here. Broke through the arc, went to the next arc, pushed through back test, went to the next arc here. Didn't really quite touch it, but it was resistance. Came back to this horizontal level over here, broke into the arc, pushed through the arc, back to this angle. Good market symmetry. It could go up to the arc up here. How high does it go, the cycle? I don't know. I just don't really like stuff that has already gone like a 10x, like that's not there is, well, actually I think it went up like 100x. There is a little bit of a concern where there's some exhaustion, and that people might just end up trying to take profits that they bought down here. So there's definitely a lot of exhaustion, right? If you look at the RSI, you can see how it's just basically going up on bearish divergence here on the weekly. So this is not like my cup of tea, but and I think there's the potential of how it ran so hard that it might not run as hard late cycle. But if you ask me objectively speaking, I think it's bullish. On the weekly here too, it's also basically back tested Tenkan Kijun over here. A lot of altcoins are doing that. They broke through the cloud, back test, and they broke through the Tenkan Kijun and back testing it. A lot of altcoins are doing this. So this is one of those that's doing that. But I'm probably not going to enter because I just don't like things that have already run up so hard. You can say that, yeah, it's run up so hard, it's going to go up higher, but you have a little bit of bearish divergence here on the weekly. So just keep that in mind. It's still bullish. It's still bullish. I just don't know how high it's going to run, right? If you do a FIB level, I guess I can do from here to here. It's not really cycle per se, but I guess I can do that. You can see how it got rejected at 1.4 and 4, got rejected here at 1.618, and right now you back tested on 1.618, right? All those things are good. All those things are excellent things for that. So you're going to try to look for higher levels over here, which I'm going to pull up some levels over here. The cycle potentially end around 2, around 2.272, maybe like 3x from here, maybe 5x from here, maybe like 6x from here. I don't know where it's going to end, but I'm just a little bit worried about how high it's already pushed through already. So this is also part of the reason why I think Solana is lagging. I think Solana is still a very, very bullish chart, but because it's gone through some very parabolic run from $8 all the way up to like $260, I think that we are hitting the previous all-time high. I think it might end up kind of stalling here a little bit. It's still a bullish chart. It looks like it wants to go higher. It's just back testing horizontal zone over here, right? If you look at Ichimoku, it's doing the same thing, back testing Kijun over here after bounce off the cloud. It looks like it wants to go higher. How much higher does it go this cycle? Is it going to make another 10x? I doubt it. If it does, great. You know, if it makes another 10x from here, hey, maybe it hits like the 1.618 here around 2,000. That'd be the end of the cycle. Or maybe it hits our 1.4 and 4 over here, $1,000 and $1,100, and that could be the end of the cycle. Could it surprise me? Maybe. Market cap's getting pretty high, so I don't know. I'm not gonna like enter Solana here just because if it looks, if anything, like this could be wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and it could be wave 5. Wave 5 could be somewhere up here, either 1.236 or 1.4 and 4. I don't know, right? I just don't know. I could be wrong. It could keep going up higher, but I just don't like things that already ran up a lot. That's kind of silly of me, but it happens. Like Chainlink, you know, it ran up a lot, and that's why it sucked during the bear market, and that's, you know, like because it ran up so much higher during the bear market that, you know, other altcoins are not doing well, but Chainlink was just beasting, right? And next thing you know, you end up having like this crazy correction here that lasted for about like 2.5 years, and it did absolutely nothing over here for like 1.5 years, right? And it's still a little bit lagging because, you know, but anyway, I like Chainlink. Where is that right now? Chainlink simply is getting rejected off of the 0.786, come back down, back test to 0.618, right? Very, very nice because it also back tested the bottom of the ARK over here last week. So it's just hovering around the ARK here. As long as it's able to bounce from the 0.618 here, back tested where over here it got rejected at. It's a bull trend. It wants to keep going up. And I think once it breaks through the 0.786, then it's lights out from here. The last boss is going to be 0.886 over here. But if it would break through 0.786, then I'm fairly confident it's going to hit $92. It's going to hit $141 maybe. And if there's a potential for it to hit $230, right? If it's able to break about these kind of areas over here. But it's taking this methodologically one step at a time. And it's going through what it needed to go through, right? On the Ichimoku, again, same thing. Again, I'm sorry that it's a pretty messy chart here. Just like a bunch of altcoins I was showing you, it broke through the cloud, back tested the Tengen Kitchen. They're all doing very, very similar things. So I can keep charting them, but like none of that really matters all that much. ADA, same thing, broke through, back tested Tengen Kitchen, holding extremely well, by the way. I'm going to turn off the Ichimoku and turn on the GAN here and kind of show you what I'm seeing here from cycle to cycle. Great market symmetry here on this GAN. You know, broke through horizontal here, broke through the ARK, broke through horizontal, broke through this ARK here, back tested ARK over here for a few weeks, push for the next ARK. That's what happened last cycle, right? This cycle, what is it doing right now? Tested the angle up here, push through the ARK. Not able to push through. It's not as bullish as it was over here, but it's finding resistance here at the zone, kind of like how it did last cycle, right? Very, very similar area where we're finding resistance at, right? Now, if it's able to break through the zone, then it's probably going to potentially grab it up to the ARK up here, which is around $6, $7. Top of the ARK right here is around maybe 9 or 10, right? But yeah, that's why it's having a hard time doing it, because it's stuck where it's supposed to get stuck at. If you are looking at FIB level here, where is it getting stuck at? 0.618, key level, right? Come back test a 0.5 here. None of these things are bearish, right? None of these things are bearish at all. What happened last cycle from the top over here to the bottom? Where do you end up getting stalled up here? Well, you end up getting stalled up here between the 0.618 and 0.786, somewhere in the middle, right? Maybe if I do the do it linear scale, yeah, it's not really good to do a linear scale. But anyway, last time was kind of stuck around the same vicinity, right? Around 0.618, 0.786, just hovering around the arc over here. So I think it's doing some very, very similar things as last cycle. And I think if it break through here, next level could be the arc up here above. It could end up stalling before that. It could end up getting rejected here at the previous all-time high here, and that could be the cycle ender. But whenever it breaks through like some of the current levels over here, generally I expect some all-time high with ADA. So first live stream as member, welcome. Could I do Rocket Lab? I certainly can. I'm going to circle back on that because I want to keep these things a little bit more systematic. I want to talk about altcoins. I'm going to talk about miners. And then I'll circle back to Rocket Lab. How's that? Remind me. Okay. You guys ready for miners? I'm done talking about alts. I mean, I can keep going, but like they're just correcting. They're all doing the same thing, but they're all forming higher highs and higher lows. Let's talk about a few stocks that you guys want to talk about. Let me take a sip of tea because I've been talking nonstop for about like an hour and 15 minutes, which is absolutely insane. I don't know. I'll be back. Okay, just give me a second and drink some tea. Tea drinking break. I'm back. One question is whether or not you should avoid 0.5 fib if they can't break above. It's hard for me to say because eventually they might. I mean, like for example, MSTR, it did take time to break above the 0.5, right? But eventually it just went a lot higher. It depends. If you want to, I do think that for all coins, it's good to chase momentum here a little bit. And if they're lagging at this point, then they might continue to lag. Who knows? Or they might be like late cycle runners. Who knows? A lot of the dinosaur older coins might continue to lag. So it's really hard to say for sure. Let's just go for MSTR here real quick. I don't really have much else to add. It's forming higher highs and higher lows. It's basically got rejected here. Right at the angle as well as the 1.618. Came back down, back tested 1.414. It did break down here below a little bit to back test the again horizontal line over here. But it's holding so far. It's stuck in the range. I don't have anything else to add. Just like Bitcoin is stuck in a range. Like it's reflecting what Bitcoin is doing right now. It's just stuck. So what is MSTR going to do? It's going to get stuck. Sometimes MSTR gives us a little bit of a better picture in terms of what's going to happen next. But it's getting stuck right now until it breaks about the 1.618 and hit the arc up here. It's going to do nothing. If it breaks down, it could close the gap down here around 280, or you can go all the way down to 1.272, or you can go down all the way down to the arc here. I don't think it's going to do that. If Bitcoin breaks down to 89,000, it might come back down and close the gap here around 280. But it may not do that. It could very well just kind of hold the range over here. At the bottom of range, you're supposed to be a little bit more bullish if you're a trader. That's just kind of how things should work. Beautiful market symmetry on the weekly. I don't have anything else to add. Well, I guess I do. One big question is, are we overextended? Should we be scared? The answer to that would be, I like to look at Ichimoku. What is it doing right now? Look at Ichimoku. Last time when it topped, it was using the Tenkan and Kijun here as resistance, right? And you have a hard time breaking above resistance here for months of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're finally able to break through the Tenkan and Kijun here on November 2021. but that was in the setting of having a bearish cross of the Tenkan Kijun. The blue has crossed underneath the red, and you lost a lot of momentum, and price plummeted all the way down to the bottom of the cloud, or to the top of the cloud. Now, here is a little bit of a different scenario, which is why I was saying for the entire time over here that I think there's going to be some bullish continuation, because this behavior here is completely different over here. If anything, the price action has flipped the blue line and the red line from resistance to support, right? And that means higher prices. Right now, where are we at? We back tested the Tenkan over here. Bullish, right? It looks like there's some potential, move up higher. On the 2-month, same thing, right? You can see how this behavior is different currently compared to before. Resistance, support, right? 3-month, I can even do 3-month. It gives you even better picture. Resistance, very clear resistance here. Support, right? So it's going to go higher. Now, you ask me how much higher. Can you take me higher? The answer is yes. If you ask me how much higher, I don't think anybody really knows the answer to that. It really depends on what Bitcoin does, right? I mean, I just gave you some ridiculous price target for Bitcoin. So if those ridiculous price target, ends up being met for Bitcoin, then MicroStrategy is going to hit some of these higher numbers up here. That's all I have to say. I do think MicroStrategy tends to be a little bit more like an early cycle burner. So I do see maybe like another few crazy candles on the way up, and then it probably could get completely burned out, and a lot of money might end up rotating out. But I don't think it's time for it to do that quite just yet. Is it overextended? A little bit, but it's still touching up a Bollinger Band here, right? You see how there's a lot of confluence. Like, why isn't it going higher? Well, it's because it's backtesting the Tenkan here as support, is making sure it's touching up a Bollinger Band before it goes up higher. There's a lot of things that it's doing. All those are logical. It looks like there's some bullish continuation that's going to happen. So yeah, that's all I got to say about MicroStrategy. Coinbase, why isn't Coinbase up yet? You do have a little bit of trees at the top here, unfortunately. Doesn't mean that pricing is pulling down here a little bit further. Maybe the month is not over yet, so we'll see when I can turn this from a little bit of trees at the top here maybe to a doji candle, which just basically means that it's just going sideways and meaningless. We'll see, right? If you're looking at the weekly chart actually doesn't look bad here at all, because it's just back testing this horizontal level here from resistance here to support, close the gap. All of these things are telling me that there's maybe more bullish continuation here moving forward. On the weekly here, it's actually instilling more confidence onto me than anything else. If I am showing you a couple other things here, I do have a GAN here that I did kind of redraw. I play around with it, 180 and 2. Really good market symmetry, right? ARK. Broke through this ARK. Where did we end up happening? Why was it so scary last week? Well, it didn't just back to 0.618. It also touched the ARK down here and closed the gap. There's a lot of confluence over here that is telling me that things are going to be okay, right? It's even way above the Bollinger support band. Like this over here, I'm not really that worried because it's a bull trend. 20 above 50 above 100. Back to 0.618 after it got rejected. It was 0.786. Normal bull market behavior. Broke through an ARK, backtest an ARK. It wants to go up higher. How long does it backtest the ARK for? I don't know. Does it break down below 0.618? I don't know. But I'm not scared by this chart. If anything, I'm excited about this chart, right? I think that it's going to be okay, guys. Bollinger Band, waiting for it to expand here on the upper Bollinger Band. 20-month moving average continue to go up. It's a bull trend. I think that there's not really anything that I'm particularly scared about with Coinbase. I think it's going to do pretty well. I do have a double leverage version of Coinbase that I'm just going to keep holding, because I really do see some of these higher targets here being met. As long as it's able to push about the 0.786 FIB level here, then some of the higher levels are going to be met, right? This is a linear scale. If I do a log scale, you can see that it got rejected here. 0.86 is almost going to get ready to just push up to the sky, right? If it breaks about this current level over here, then you get all-time high about 430. Then you talk about some crazy like 4-digit figures targets up here above, right? I do think there's a potential for Coinbase to make another 10x. That's just because I'm very extremely bullish on altcoins. So I think that Coinbase can potentially make like at least a 5x, if not like 10x from here. And that would be like the above this 1.618. It'll be like even higher than that, right? If it hits the 1.618 and it gets rejected, that's the cycle ender there. Then that's like 7 or 8 eggs. It's not bad. But yeah, I'm bullish on Coinbase. CleanSpark. Instead of giant inverse head and shoulder pattern on Coinbase, I want to say the answer is that you certainly have inverted head and shoulder pattern over here that has already worked out, right? I see a big giant. You can say that giant inverted head and shoulder, or just like a cup and like a little tiny handle here. Regardless, these things are this is a bullish thing because it's higher high, higher lows, right? Like whatever you call it doesn't really matter. This could be the handle over here, and we're just basically back testing the cupping handle over here, and it looks like it wants to go up higher. It's an extremely bullish chart. If you ignore the fact that like it's underperforming Bitcoin for now, it's an extremely bullish chart. All right, let's talk about CleanSpark. Everybody hates CleanSpark because they dilute and because they have private jets. So what is CleanSpark doing? Looking at the bird's eye view, I'm going to do relatively quickly here. Let's look at the daily. Actually, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. On daily, it did break underneath the 0.618, right? Initially, I was hoping that would hold. Didn't really end up holding. Volume was relatively high. What the heck is going on? Such high volume with price not really going down that much further. I just don't know about this. I'll get to Baba here towards the end. I just don't know about this. Like, you know, why is there so much volume and price is just kind of barely going down, right? Maybe because they're accumulating. Okay, let's look and see whether or not they are. Now let's look at unbalanced volume. What is happening right now? Well, unbalanced volume is going down because all these, you know, sell volume over here, but price is barely budging, right? From here in November all the way to current price in December, you have price actually still kind of going up here a little bit, but the unbalanced volume is going down. This is a hidden bullish divergence here, right? And this hidden bullish divergence here has been going on for a long time, even from October all the way up to here. There's a lot of secret buying pressure that's happening to CleanSpark. And I think that this hidden bullish divergence probably end up working out relatively soon. When that is, I don't know, right? But there is secret buying pressure here that I can say that at least. If you're looking at the Bollinger Band, you can see how it's just been riding the lower Bollinger Band all the way down. Sometimes it does that, and sometimes it just keeps going down on the on like a daily low Bollinger Band for like days and days, get everybody really demoralized. Doesn't even hit any like fit levels, and next thing they just kind of push back up, hit the fit level up here around 0.5, and the next thing though is just moving, right? I'm seeing like a very like kind of similar thing here. I don't know when it's going to end up getting done, like going down, but it's yeah, it's basically showing me that there are a lot of secret buying pressure here. It closed the gap over here too, right? Which basically means that there could potentially be pretty strong support level over here, and we might end up ending with this downtrend here, but nobody can say that for sure. It did break about below the 0.618 here, but if you just kind of look, like, it's not as bullish as Coinbase, right? Coinbase has a pretty clear, like you said, inverted head and shoulder. CleanSpark has a little bit of inverted head and shoulder pattern here too, but it's just a little bit lagging. But if you just look at what CleanSpark has been doing, it breaks about multiple fit levels, breaks about 2 fit levels, backtest 1, breaks about 3, backtest 2. So what is it going to do? It's going to break like 4 fit levels, and you know, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen next, right? The only things that are kind of holding it back would be a couple of things. One is on the weekly. This technical damage here still needs to be repaired. It's just not as bullish because a lot of the other miners, they just kind of gone sideways, but CleanSpark really had more like a reasoned backdrop over here. So this technical damage needs to be repaired, and that can be shown by the Bollinger support band kind of falling underneath the support band here, which makes this a laggard compared to a lot of miners. But that's okay. Like, I'm not that concerned about it. It might span a few more weeks underneath the 0.618 before pushing up higher. It could be a laggard, and I'm not that concerned about it. Volume's pretty high too, but price barely budged, right? It does make you wonder, hey, maybe there's some buying pressure here, which I was showing a little bit on the on balance volume here earlier. Now, why are we having such a hard time breaking through? The reason why is because it's been fighting its demon. I keep saying this because you got the monthly Ichimoku cloud here to serve resistance throughout the entire year of 2022, not 2024. And you're just having a hard time breaking through about, right? You need to reclaim the 0.618 here to build up some more energy before breaking through. Once it breaks into the cloud, then I think it can get up to some higher levels here in a hurry. Once it breaks above the 0.786, then I think it's going to make all-time high, right? Not all-time high, sorry, at least above this January 2021 candle. I don't think CleanSpark was really like a Bitcoin miner until like December 2020. So any price action before that may not be that meaningful. But this cloud over here also takes into account all these price action before. So big giant cloud algorithm takes into consideration. Price came back down, and next thing you know, it just gravitated up to the cloud over here, and everybody got euphoric, including myself included, into the cloud over here, and it just gets rejected for the entire year. Again, it breaks through like 3 or 4 FIB levels, backtest 2. This is not a bad thing, right? Higher high, higher low. We just try and form a higher high right now. It's just been kind of stuck here a little bit. But it's lagging. I'm not going to lie. It's lagging. Am I worried about CleanSpark? No, because it's just backtest perfectly at the rising 20-month moving average, right? This is still a bull trend. This is still a bull trend. I'm not that worried about CleanSpark, to be completely honest with you. But I already try to load, as much as I can. My average, I think, is like around 11.4 or something like that. So I'm like right around break even. So yeah, I'm just going to let it be, right? Mara. Well, okay. If you ask about me about like CleanSpark targets, if it breaks above the 0.786, I'm also showing you the can here. I forgot to show you the can here that I can draw here real quick. 1.272 is $100, 160, 300, right? I don't know how it needs to break above all these things to get there. So we'll get there when we get there, if we get there. But those are my targets. It could very well end the cycle at like this high over here, and that could be it. I don't know. I don't know anything. Okay, it could very end the cycle up here, and that could be it. Right? I don't know. If it breaks through the cloud, then you're talking about some higher targets above. All right. One more thing here with this weekly chart. I'm going to show a weekly chart here. I'm going to draw a can here real quick, and again, I'm going to draw is going to be 715 0.1. Let me try. Where is my can button? Can line here. The pivot point here at the bottom. Going to zoom out here. I'm going to do 720 and let me see 0.1. Let me see what I see here. Okay, I see where I'm setting. Yeah, some pretty good market symmetry here. I'm going to delete the FIB level here, give you a little bit more clarity. And I'm going to also delete the volume here, give you a little bit more clarity. It's been respecting these arcs here almost perfectly. As you can see, rejection here. Came back down, back test the arc down here below. Got rejected here at the angle almost perfectly, right? And it's just hanging in space. Does it mean it's to come back all the way down here? Not necessarily. It can, but not necessarily. Just like over here, it didn't really come back all the way down to the arc here or the horizontal here. It can just kind of hang out in space here a little bit. And that's fine, right? But yeah, it's basically doing what it's supposed to do from arc to arc. It looks like it wants to push back up to the arc here above, but it's just having some hard time doing so because there's still a lot of repair that it needs to do, right? Got rejected here by the Ishimoku cloud too, but it's still forming a higher low here. Do I think it has to hit the arc down here? Not necessarily, because I think that it's already gone down like far enough here, but it can. I'm not saying that it won't, right? It could hit the single digits there again. If it ends up doing that, I'm going to buy there. Sometimes it's not about, it definitely is going to hold a support level here. It's going to go up higher from here. But it's more like, what happens if you hit the arc down here? What are you going to do? I'm going to buy. If it doesn't hit the arc down here, if it just keeps going up, I'm going to hold, right? That's kind of what I envision to do, because over here, the entire time is just, I have a lot of volume over here. This something tricky is happening over here, right? There's a lot of volume over the last few months, a lot of volume, and price just kind of gone up a little bit, right? A lot of sell volume over here, but price just kind of gone down a little bit. It makes you wonder what's going on. Could they be accumulating? Let's see, right? CleanSpark. Yeah, it looks like they could be accumulating. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, institution looks like they want to just, get it off your hands, if you will. So I wonder what's going to happen. Marta. I am going to turn this off here real quick. And Mara looks more bullish than CleanSpark. Mara looks ready. Mara looks like it wants to go up higher. What is stopping Mara from going higher? Ichimoku cloud, resistance, right? But it's looking relatively more bullish than CleanSpark. What's also stopping it from going higher is going to be the FIB levels. Ignored again here. I drew that for the weekly, so ignore that. But you can see that I was hoping it just hold 0.618, but no, it broke back down. Didn't listen to me, broke back down. Where is it at right now? Looks like it's just been hugging this arc down, and it's back testing the arc down here below. That's what it looks like to me. Let me get rid of this GAN here. I mean, if anything, I think it's going to push. If it bounces from this arc over here, it's going to push up to the next arc up here, because I think a lot of energy is being consolidated. The reason why I think this is like a perfect area to find support. This over here is a perfect area to find support. I'm going to pull up a lot of like things here to kind of show you why I think Mara maybe is ready to go very, very soon. The reason why I say that is if I pull up a couple of things here, which include moving averages, the 50 moving average is where it's at right now, right? This is 50-week SMA. Holding support, 20-week moving average is right down below, is a little bit positive sloping. Shall it need it, is going to come back to like maybe 19 or something like that, back test the 20-week moving average. And 100-week moving average already been back tested, right? So you have a ton of support down here below. You also have the bonus support band on top of that, which is going to be including the 21-week exponential moving average, right? It's getting into the band, and it's also testing 50. A lot of support down here below, right? So so you're talking about back testing the arc that I just showed you earlier, back testing the bonus support band from resistance here to support, back testing the 50 from resistance here to support. A lot of things are telling me that I think Mara is ready to go. Also, this downtrend over here is also on a little bit of declining volume. So the downtrend here is actually not that committal. I like the Mara chart. I think it could shoot up as soon as like next week. I keep saying that, but hey, maybe this time would become true. I don't know. Higher time frame, there's nothing wrong with Mara. It's still holding 20-week month moving average. It's still trying to get through the Bollinger Band. It's still waiting for Bollinger Band to expand. It's still waiting to hit the 0.786, which is going to be the top of the cloud over here, but it needs to build a little bit more energy, maybe flip the 0.618 from resistance here to support before going up here. If you break the 0.786, then all-time high stuff is coming, but it might need maybe another couple months or so before you hit some of these crazy targets up here above, right? 200, 325. I'm not going to say like 637 gets ridiculous, but even here is all this sounds ridiculous. Just like how ridiculous it was when price is like around $82 and plummet all the way down to $3. Just like how ridiculous it was when it went from $3 all the way to like 30-something dollars within a matter of like a year, right? All of these things are ridiculous. So open up for all kinds of possibility. It also is ridiculous that it did absolutely nothing for like a whole year. So that's Mara. I like Mara. I think Mara is going to like Jupiter and Mars, maybe. I could be wrong. But I think it's building up a lot of energy to push through here. And it looks a lot more ready than CleanSpark. Bitfarms, the bane of my existence. I'm down on Bitfarms a lot. I do have a few minor position. Bitfarm is the one that I'm down on the most. The question I was asked is whether or not I should let go of my Bitfarms and put that into something else. That gets tricky. That gets extremely tricky because it is doing kind of what I would expect it to do. Although I'm just surprised how long it's been doing that. It's also got a little bit of a descending triangle look to it, which is a little bit more bearish. But it's just getting rejected here at the arc over and over and over again. Now you can talk about the fundamentals here. I'm just here talking about the technicals. Talking about technicals is getting rejected at the arc over here. It's not ready yet, right? Talking about the technicals, you're talking about it broke down underneath the weekly Ichimoku out here. It's not ready yet, right? Technically speaking, this is a little bit more troublesome here too. Technically speaking, you also broke down underneath the 20-month moving average, right? It was serving as support here, lots of wicks here below, but so far we've broken down underneath of it. Should you be scared? Well, I don't know if you should be scared or not because SoFi did the same thing. SoFi ended up like breaking underneath the rising 20-month moving average here. And I was not very happy about that. But next thing you know, after a few months, it just kind of went up to the moon, right? So the question is like, am I scared here? Well, I don't know. It's rising still, right? So which means it's not a very, very good resistance here. But it could take longer. I think Bitfarm is going to be a laggard potentially. So I don't know actually whether or not you should sell and go to something else. It's very, 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 very tough for me to decide. All I know is that if this is wave 1, this is wave 2. Wave 3 is going to be very powerful, and wave 2 has been building for a very, very long time. So I think that whenever it's done consolidating sideways here, it can go up a lot higher, right? But I just don't know when that's going to be, and it looks weak right now. I'm not going to lie, it just looks weak, like kind of like SoFi. SoFi spent like a whole year and a half just doing nothing, right? And that's kind of what Bitfarm is doing right now. But it does seem like it's forming to a higher low over here compared to over here. It's just ridiculous. Now, another thing I can kind of show you in terms of why I think like maybe I shouldn't sell here is, and again, there's no right mindset, there's no wrong mindset. I'm just simply changing it from 0.05 to 0.1 in terms of the ratio. And if you just look at this, I just have a hard time wanting to sell here because price keeps gravitating to this GAN line over here. And right now we're still above the GAN line here. And we are back testing this zone over here from resistance over here into to support, right? It does have a little bit of rolling overlook, which I don't like. But the question is there any like secret buying pressure behind the scene, right? If there is, that's gonna actually make me feel better. Well, what can you do to kind of look for that? If you are looking at the let me see here. If you're looking at the 2-week, actually look at 2-week chart here. I was talking about the unbalanced volume, right? Yeah, there's like something ridiculous here because you basically have price kind of gone up here from like September 2023 all the way up to here, but the unbalanced volume has like completely plummeted, right? Which means that there's a lot of negative volume over here without moving price that much, which tells me maybe there's a little bit more accumulation here secretly. If you look at the weekly, you can see how there's actually a bullish divergence where price kind of gone down here, and you have a slight increase in OBV. That also tells me that there's a little bit of divergence that's kind of building up here too. The last time this has happened was over here. You have price gone down and OBV gone up. Next thing you know, you shot up like 6 weeks in a row, right? So it does make me wonder whether or not this bullish divergence over here is going to work out. We end up getting closer to bottom over here. I don't know the answer to that, guys. I don't have all the answers. I have Bitfarms. I think it sucks in terms of its price action compared to the other stuff. I'm not gonna lie, but there are enough things I'm seeing here, and it just makes me think like, So I'm gonna hold on to Bitfarms, and if it goes down, that's okay because I still own Palantir. So Palantir is gonna help support my Bitfarms habit. I'm gonna move on to CIFR. CIFR looks bullish. Yay! What's going on with CIFR? CIFR is basically it's got two things going on. CIFR is trying to break. Well, CIFR did two things, right? CIFR broke above this arc over here. Yeah, well, I cut loss on Bitfarms. It keeps dropping to a certain level. I have a hard time answering that. I think it's holding this level over here. They could rate your stop loss if you end up, like holding a stop loss. Let's say like $1.50. They can very well just rate it. So I have a hard time. I don't like to set up stop loss or anything like that. All I can say is I'm just diversified to other miners, and all I can say is that Bitfarm is a laggard. But I'm still holding on to it, and it might be a fool's thing to do. But I think I might cut my loss if it's just simply like not do anything over the next 2 or 3 months. If the rest of the miners just like keep shooting to the moon, and if it like breaks down to this level down here, that's a tricky thing too, right? It could very well be a descending triangle, broke down underneath, and it could hold support here around like $1.30, right? This is a reason why I'm like not buying Bitfarms. I'm just holding on to it because I think that it could go down lower potentially, right? So if you're asking me if you should sell here, as support, I have a hard time saying yes. It could break down in a hurry to like 1.3, and if anything, we'll get there when we get there. I just think that there's a lot of volume here, and price just kind of done nothing. Like something is happening here, and I'm kind of sniffing things out here based on balance volume. I think there's a lot of buying pressure behind the scene. So even the price break down to like 1.3 or something like that, I'm probably not going to sell because I'm already like at a loss anyway. Like, I don't, at this point, like selling and buying other things, unless if I see some really like amazing risk reward, I can pile into all my bit farms and buy Mara. But I already have a lot of Mara. I can pile in like all this. I can buy like GME, I suppose, but I don't want to do that. I just kind of want this like whole thing here to work out because there's a lot of volume over here. Something's happening soon with bit farms, and I'm just gonna play the volume here, see what happens, and move on from there. I don't have a level, man. I might be a fool to hold on to it. I'm just telling you, there's no. I don't know everything. Okay, I can lose money too for sure. CIFR looks like it wants to break about the 0.786. If it does, then it goes to the moon because of how long it's consolidated sideways over here, forming higher highs and higher lows. It's having a hard time breaking through, understandably so. And right now, it's broken underneath the scan level over here around like 5.96, somewhere around here. That has been resistance level here for a long time. But as far as I'm concerned, it's still breaking through and back testing it. It could go down lower. It can even go down to the ARK down here if he wants to, around like $5. That area would be a good area to buy, in my opinion, because it's a pretty bullish chart as far as I'm concerned. Because if it breaks above $7 convincingly, then it's going to go to all-time high. After it breaks through this arc here around like $11 to $12, it's going to go to all-time high. It's going to go to like some crazy targets here above, like $42, $71, all that. But it's just having a hard time doing so. If I look at the monthly here, this is not a bearish chart, right? It's trying to ride the upper bullish band on the way up. 20-month moving average is still serving as support down below. The Tenkan and Kijun has been flipped from resistance here to support. It didn't even bother to touch it quite just yet, right? It could, but it hasn't yet. It's a bullish chart, so I'm going to hold on to it. If it gets down to 5, I might buy. IREN, bullish chart, no doubt about it. Bollinger Band expansion, right? If I look at Ichimoku about the Tenkan and Kijun, like this is something that I just end up holding. I'm going to be very happy holding. Upper Bollinger Band continues to go up, right? The last 3 candles here on the way up was on increasing volume. There's really nothing bearish about this chart here at all. If I go switch to the weekly here and I do the pull up the GAN here, that tells you exactly what's happening with IREN. Is having a hard time breaking above 2 things. One is this arc up here, and this GAN chart has some pretty good market symmetry where the arcs here are resistance, right? You break above resistance here, good things happen. Why didn't it touch the arc up here after it broke above this arc here? Because of 0.76. Got rejected 0.76, came back test the arc, back to 0.618 here, passes through, trying to challenge the 0.786 in the arc here again. Got rejected perfectly off the arc, but right now it's forming higher highs and higher lows. It's building up a lot of energy to try and push up about further. And right now it's also basically doing what a lot of altcoins are doing, back test the Tenkan and Kijun down here below, right? That's basically what it's doing right now. But yeah, IREN is a good chart. If you're asking for like Fibonacci levels, if we're able to break about the 0.786, break about the arc here, then the next arc is going to be like in the 40s, and it can even get up to the higher levels up here, 5x, 10x. Under resistance, we'll talk when we get there. WULF, and I'll talk about BTBT too. Don't worry. I have a position in BTBT. I'll talk about it. WULF is trying to get above the 0.618, not able to. Very similar story. Got underneath the GAN level over here. It could go down all the way down to like 5.8 and back test the arc, maybe a little bit lower, 5.7 something, back test the arc. It doesn't have to. If it does that, it would be bullish. It's just basically back testing the level that it broke out from. This is a bullish chart. If anybody like is scared or think this is a bearish chart, I think you're doing it wrong. And if you're looking at the monthly perspective, the Bollinger Band simply just need to continue to expand to allow price to go up higher. This is one of the more bullish charts, by the way, because the low Bollinger Band's already kind of pushed all the way down to the ground. And there's proof for this because I'm actually up a lot on WULF, right? But it needs to wait for Bollinger Band to continue to go up before price goes up. If you're talking about some levels, going back to the weekly chart here, he was able to break about 0.786, then challenge the ARK up here around $17, which is 0.786, right? Break about 0.618, then we'll talk. After that, maybe a little bit of a GAN level over here, which is confluent with 0.86, $26.60. That's going to be some pretty strong resistance here too, right? So you have two strong resistance levels here. One is probably going to end up gravitating up here, is break 0.618, gravitate up here to the ARK, $17. The other one is going to be $26. After that, some all-time high stuff, like 50, 60, 70, possible, right? I'm not even going to talk about like these targets up here. That's just stupid. Break about 17, break about 26, then we'll talk about some really bullishness happening. So far, there's not really any reason to be bearish on WULF. It's trying to break about a very important fit level. BTBT. What is BTBT doing? Well, it is doing something that is basically, there's a lot of volume picking up here. I think something's happening here. It wants to break through, probably, but it's just still building up energy. And what is it doing right now? Like there's a strong GAN resistance level here. You got to see rejection, 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 right? Higher highs, higher lows here since April of this year. It looks like it wants to break through, but got rejected here. Coming back test, trying to find support. Is it going to be able to find support here? It's broken underneath the bond support band here a little bit. Should you be scared? You know, probably not. You got like 50 and 100 still underneath below here. And you also find support here on this GAN angle. So yeah, just trying to find a high low here before going up and challenge. Could it break down underneath this angle, go lower? Possible. Could it go down to like the 50 and 100 week moving average? Possible, but I don't think it necessarily has to do that. On the daily chart here, let me turn off all these GAN stuff. On the daily chart here, is way outside the lower Bollinger Band. I think this selling is way overdone on no volume. This is going to get reversed pretty easily. So I'm not bearish on BTBT. I think this is one of the 5 stocks that I'm still buying. I made like a members only video talking about the 5 stocks that I'm still buying. This is one of the 5. Let's talk about RIOT here. RIOT got a big giant gap down here. I think it's going to fill, not necessarily. It's just stuck in a range right now. RIOT is super boring. If I turn off the GAN, why is it stuck in a range? Well, because you got an ARK over here, and you got a 0.382 fit level here. Strong resistance, strong support. This, you see how strong this ARK is resistance, right? Let's try and break through the ARK. Let's try and use the 0.382 here as support to kind of help it push through. During the entire bull trend here from September all the way to November, huge increased volume. Something might be happening soon. I don't know what. Maybe it breaks through the ARK, gets to 0.618. Hopefully it breaks through, but that's probably a resistance here around $23. Ichimoku, also resistance, right? Also support here with the Kijun. You can see like they're basically telling you to tell, yes, we're at resistance up here above, but we're finally trying to support down here. We're stuck in a range. Overall, there's volume increasing coming, forming higher highs, higher lows ever since September. So yeah, what do you think is going to happen? I don't know. I favor breaking through the ARK and go higher. But yeah, we'll see. It's stuck in the range right now. Done talking about the miners. It's getting close to like a 2-hour mark, which is absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to talk about 2 chart requests here. And then I'm going to end the show. Somebody asked about Rocket Lab. Rocket Lab has rocketed all the way from here, going all the way up to here. I guess it's not that helpful when I say that, but what is it doing right now? Well, it's trying to break the some of the fit levels up here. But the truth is that it's consolidating sideways like it should, right? Like on the monthly, you just simply need to do that because it's just way outside the upper Bollinger Band. Like it's not even touching upper Bollinger Band. It's just kind of hanging out in space over here. It's kind of like what Palantir is doing, I guess, a little bit. The upper Bollinger Band here on the monthly is 20.46. And are you expecting it just kind of have like further bullish continuation right away after you have 3 big giant green candle here that are way outside the upper Bollinger Band, and the fourth one here that's like literally hanging out in space? You could end up having it going sideways here for 3 to 6 months and wait for the upper Bollinger Band to catch up before going up higher. Like that can happen. That can happen. You know what this reminds me of? That's another like space related stock, I guess. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of ASTS. You know, I was asked to chart this, and whenever like price get up here, and I got asked, like, of course I get asked for a chart request when price kind of going up nonstop for 4 months in a row, right? Hey, what do you think about this? I thought it was way outside of a Bollinger Band here. 1, 2, 3, 4 months. It might need time to correct here, and it is correcting, and I was correct, right? Is it correcting at a reasonable level here where you would expect it to correct? Well, let me actually change that. I'm going to do a weekly here. So it got rejected here, 1.618, and it got rejected here at the ARK, right? And it's just kind of hovering underneath the ARK over here. On declining volume, it's consolidating sideways. It's fine supported at 0.786. I'm just telling you what can happen with Rocket Lab. You know, why am I asking Rocket Lab? Why are you showing me ASTS? Because this can happen with Rocket Lab. that's what I'm saying, right? So I'm going to go back to Rocket Lab here. And I do think ASTS is going to have some bullish continuation, by the way, but Rocket Lab needs to cool off, and it could end up cooling off potentially even all the way down to $17.52. That's your downside risk. This is a bull trend. I expect further bullish continuation to happen, but you have to understand what the potential downside risk is, what the potential upside risk is before getting in, right? This is an elevated level of risk right here. How far can this correction go down potentially? Previous all-time high, $21.30, or the 0.76 around $17, right? And 50 cents. Or it could just end up hovering around these higher levels up here, around the mid 20s. That's also possible because it can correct either through time or through price. But I just, I see something like that. I'll show you another example too of what this reminds me of, where everybody got super bullish and then price just ended up going sideways here for months, right? MicroStrategy. Candles number like 1 and 2 just way outside the upper Bollinger Band, right? That's what it reminds me of. So I think it's going to keep rocketing due time. But I think that's because the low Bollinger Band is still like all the way down here to the negatives, right? This is a bull trend until proven otherwise. I think there's going to be some bullish continuation. I just don't know how low or how long this is going to correct for. That's what I think about Rocket Lab. And if I am interested in Rocket Lab, I'm not going to buy it when it's way outside the upper Bollinger Band here on a monthly. Am I going to sell? It depends, right? I just told you what the downside risk could potentially be. It doesn't have to get there. If you sell here, where are you going to buy back, right? If you're bullish on this, where are you going to buy back? I don't have the answer to that. Because does it have to come back down to like $17? I don't know. Stocks can just keep going up. I don't know the answer to that, you know. But I don't think the risk reward ratio is there for that. And I just kind of show you why that is. All right, one more. Alibaba. I'm sorry if I rain on the parade here. I hate to be like cautious. You know, it's a bullish stock, but it could correct. You know, but I tell you what I see, and that's what I saw. So, what do I think about Alibaba? I think it's building a rising 3 pattern here, where potentially you have a big giant green candle. These things generally correct for 2 or 3 months, maybe a little bit longer. On declining volume, engulfed by this green candle, is not breaking through underneath this candle over here yet. Generally, this is a big green candle. Bulls made a statement. They let bears do their thing, see how far down they can bring it down. Bears spent 3 months trying to bring it down. Couldn't break through this candle over here. The next candle could be very green. Look up something called a rising 3 methods. It looks like it might be building up here for Alibaba. I think that the month is probably going to end up closing about the 20-month moving average. Currently is $82.97. It broke through it as resistance here and is back testing and support last month. I might be wrong. It might end up going down further than that, right? But that might be a false breakdown. You know why? Because there's no volume. I think that Alibaba is a laggard compared to all other China stocks because it's underneath the Tenkan and Kijun here. Look at how JD is very nicely like still back tested the Tenkan here. Look at Tencent is already inside the monthly Ichimoku cloud. Pinduoduo is a little bit different story, but you know it's inside the cloud here. I think that Baba is a little bit laggard. Even KWeb overall is more bullish than Alibaba, right? It's a little bit behind schedule here. And KWeb looks like a very nice rising 3 is going to happen. I think KWeb over the next maybe Q1 or so, maybe even Q2, it's probably going to hit the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud here, right? And KWeb is not even touching the 20-month moving average after it broke out. So Baba is a laggard. Laggards can end up outperforming. Don't get me wrong, right? I mean, I'm not saying that is a laggard right now is definitely gonna continue to lag. I don't know. It could be a late cycle boomer. I don't know, but it's just a little bit lagging right now. I am bullish on. Is YINN? Is there? I think like MG because these like triple leverage stuff is really tricky, right? It is bullish because it is reclaiming the 20-month moving average from resistance here to support. It's still a little bit negative sloping, but I think it's because it's like 3x. So a lot of the downward momentum is still gonna be taken into account here. But you can see like if I use like MG, which I think is not the leverage version of YINN, but it's just the normal version. Then yeah, it's gonna be resistance here, and then flip to the support here. This is a bullish chart, right? A little bit of rising 3 look to it. Couldn't really push that much higher because the Bollinger Band is resistance here, right? And then on top of that, you also have Ichimoku Cloud up here, which it got close to. It got rejected almost, right? So do I think that YINN is bullish? The answer is yes, because I think MG is bullish. It's very difficult to chart here because if you just look at YINN, like there's a lot of negative stuff here that's still trying to battle, but it's only because it's triple leverage, so it's really, really hard to chart, right? Same thing here with the Bollinger Band with the 20-month moving average. I think it's reclaiming from resistance and support, but it's doing negative sloping because it's 3x, so it's hard for me to chart because of that. Yeah, so I'm bullish on Baba. Like I think I'm think it's going to do okay because it's flipping resistance to support, even though it's a little bit underneath of that. There's really no volume on the weekly. It actually doesn't look bad here at all, right? It did break underneath the 20. It did break underneath the Bull support band. But I'm going to show you a lot of the other China stock like JD, find Bull support band and support. Tencent, find Bull support band and support, right? A lot of these Chinese stocks are doing that. KWeb, finding Bull support band more or less as support, right? Baba, underneath the Bull support band, right? Just a little bit lagging, unfortunate. It is back testing the top of the Ichimoku cloud. JD is not even touching it. It's trying to find support here and taking the Kijun, right? Tencent is not even touching it. It's trying to find support here and taking the Kijun, right? So a lot of Chinese stocks may be doing a little bit better than Baba. Even KWeb's not touching it. Baba is really trying to get there, but all this downtrend here is on low volume. So I think that this backtest is necessary, and I think you're going to end up having some bullish continuation after a few more weeks, maybe. Maybe as soon as at the end of the year. I don't know. I think January is going to be a pretty bullish month for China. So yeah, I know. I'm sorry, DK. Yeah. All right, guys. It's been 2 hours. I'm running like 3-4 minutes late. So thank you so much for listening, guys. This is a monster of a live stream as always. I hope you guys get something out of it. And if I'm wrong about Bitfarms, I'm sorry. I'm going to pay a price for it. But hopefully Palantir is going to support my bad habits. Anyways, you guys take care. Have a good one. Thank you for being members. Thank you for being good sports. Bye now.